Hey, this is Derica, your host on the Happiness Recipe Show 2.0, where top experts are sharing stories of their breakthroughs on their own fear and resistance and into living their happy life and how you can do the same. I'm very excited to get into the juicy stuff with our expert, Jennifer Urezzio. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay,
Yay!
yay! All right, you guys, if you have not met Jennifer yet, I'm going to read her bio so we can get to know her a little bit better, and then we'll jump into those questions. Okay? So, Jennifer Urezzio is the founder of Soul Language, a paradigm that puts tangibility to soul so a conscious connection can be established to enable crystal clear decisions for success. Ooh, yeah. All right. Jennifer is also a master intuitive and the author of 2 best-selling books. Currently, she has trained over 30 practitioners worldwide in soul language. At this time, there are over 5,000 individuals all over the world connecting their soul languages. Yes! Woohoo, Jennifer! That's lovely, hon. Can you
Thank
tell
you.
us a little bit of your story and really what led you into doing what it is that you do today?
I don't think there was any choice. I always felt like there was something bigger inside of me, but I didn't know how to access that. I didn't know exactly what that was. So, with warrior energy, you go on a pursuit, right?
Yeah.
And I was really making war with everything. I was in corporate PR. I was good at my job. Wasn't allowed to talk to clients because I would tell them the truth. And I was just like, okay, what am I here? Like, there's got to be something better. And I just kept asking those questions, and it led me to a mentor, which led me to a talking at her conference, which led me to hearing through divine guidance. Hey, there's something they call this thing called soul language, and I was like, okay, tell me more. And when you kind of download a paradigm, you kind of there's a couple times where you think, oh my God, am I crazy? Like there are books falling off my shelf. It seems like I've been collecting this information all these years. And then, there's some times where you go through, well, why me? Am I making this up? Is it ego driven? And you have to move through all of those kind of way of keeping yourself small in order to kind of birth this thing. And so it was a kind of, I would love to say it's a straight line, but it wasn't. I started out in art school, went to PR, and then became this soul language coach. And my mom very funnily the other night at dinner was like, listen, can you tell me what you do again? Because I try to explain it, and I'm like, listen, I just help people connect to their soul. She's like, oh, that's what I say. She goes, but I was like, yeah, it's not up to you, up for them to kind of understand it, mom. Like, we're good to go. So that's a little bit about my story.
Wow. I love that story, and I know a lot of us can relate. I remember I was in the corporate world for over a decade too, and there were so many times I could not speak to the customers, or it was patients. I worked at a large medical facility, and it was like because I spoke about the truths of things or my beliefs on things or supported people in a different way that didn't quite fit the setting, and so it was like a lot of the time. So I love how you brought that up because I know a lot of us we feel like that so many times, wanting to speak our truth that's inside, like something we feel is right to who we are, but there's like barriers that we hit, whether it's workforce or family or friends, society, different things put on us where we're like, oh, we're kind of there, but then you broke it open.
Yeah, I also learned how to share what I believed in a way that spoke to someone's listening, right? So I moved from unconscious warrior to conscious warrior. And I'm not pushing, I'm not using force anymore. I'm just speaking my truth. And if people want to get on my bus, that's great. And if they don't, that's great too. Right. And
Yeah.
I think so many people, especially when they're having those awake moments, when they want to use their voice, are using their voice in a pushing, forceful fashion instead of in a powerful fashion. And
Yeah.
that's what I also help clients do. I help them align their voice and their vision, right? And so often, so they kind of keep going through this like, I've got to make you understand so I can accept my beliefs. And that's not the way it works,
No.
right? So it's a process, and people have to be really loving and really gentle with themselves and completely honest.
Oh, that's so true. I totally can relate to that. Just, when you have, it's like a pressure cooker. You're holding so much of it back, and every time well, for me, I can't speak for everyone, but you'll dab it out a little bit and you're kind of like smacked. And so I remember coming out of this like spiritual closet, or just knowingness of who I am closet, and being forceful in the very beginning, like, just hear me out or understand, or like, trying to, I just had so much. But it is this beautiful, I love it. It's not a straight line. It's
No,
like finding.
and I think people go to the extremes before they learn how to balance it all, right?
Yeah.
And so there's this kind of rebellion again, you're not going to put me in this box, so I am going to shout, shout, shout. And it doesn't always work like that, and you don't really gain a community by shouting.
No.
Right. So it's really about learning how to utilize your voice for your greatest good in a way that allows you to speak your truth
Yeah.
and not force that on anyone else.
I love a community, relationships with your kids, your loved ones, your friends. Like, you're really not going to gain any sort of intimacy and deep connection with anyone just, being so aggressive like that, and
Agreed.
feeling like you've got to be that rebellion everywhere you go. That was a big lesson. That was a big lesson for me. Thanks for the reminder.
You're welcome.
But that's so delicious. Okay, very good. Jennifer, can you jump into what were some of those? Do you remember facing some really big fears, some of
Of
the
course.
resistance of yourself? Like, can you share with us what some of those were, and what you did to
Yeah,
sort
I mean, I think that, it's a process and everything builds on everything else. But, I think one of my big fears was, and it will come up again, not as strong, but, fear comes up when you're really inviting more into your system. And I think people don't, they want to eradicate fear in their body and in their kind of environment, and it doesn't work that way. So, my big thing was not enough. I remember, I moved one house over on the same street, um, and it was a huge increase in rent in a smaller, this was about, oh my God, 10 years ago. And it was a smaller place, but it had an outdoor deck, which I wanted. And I remember sitting on the floor crying because, oh my God, where was I going to come up with that money? Because uh, my landlord wanted a month and a half, and my current landlord was being crazy. And oh my God, I wasn't going to have enough to have my dream. And I remember going, okay, so do I want to stay in this consciousness? What can my soul share with me? And, it at the time it was, we all hear those big bits of advice and we kind of just push them away,
yeah.
and they're always the same: trust, love, let go, allow, and I said, okay, soul, what do I have to activate to know that I'm enough? And um what I heard was just keep trusting, keep really filling yourself, your consciousness, your body with the neutrality, because that's what trust does. It puts you in the consciousness of neutrality.
Mm,
And I took the apartment, and my life changed. I got a publisher for my book, I got more clients, I got a new boyfriend, like things just really expanded in a big way. And, as much as recently, um, you know, my mom had a house fire in July. And so me and my brother had to make a lot of decisions with her around, what do we do? And the money and the insurance and blah, blah. And thank God she had insurance. But I was really noticing how I was making money personal and bringing so much emotion to money.
mm,
Especially around my mom with safety for her. And, my best friend said, what if you just took the emotion out of it? And I went, "Oh, yeah. Then we just do this." And it's a learning, because
yeah.
I think so often people don't understand in those situations that you have to keep reconnecting and reconnecting and reconnecting. And around family members and doing those big kind of family members, your partners, those are going to be your biggest challenges. So you
Yeah.
have to really be compassionate with you. We just had a situation today, and I was like, oh, I could feel myself going to fear. And I was like, okay, I'm making this personal. Let's let go. Let's hand it over to the divine. Um, and I think that's really, people need to create a really strong foundation of knowing that they're loved and supported and provided for, and that they're safe no matter what. And go back to that starting point rather than the fear.
Yeah, that's so good. The fear and family, a fear of not having enough money, and then our challenges with family. Ding, 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 ding,
Yep.
all around. It's like two of the biggest ones. So I love how these and I love they're so small but so powerful.
Right. I think so often, here's the thing, if you've been on the journey for a while, and this is my specialty, your shifts are going to be very sneaky, very subtle. They're going to feel huge for you, but you're not moving rocks as though you once were when you were first kind of on the journey. You're moving really subtle behavior and really subtle energetic nuances and patterns. And that's why talking to your soul is so important,
Yeah,
because your soul knows the full potential of what you have to offer. And it has such deep clarity that your mind is going to try to put in some sort of box and in some sort of pattern so you feel safe. And, I think so often people forget that your core fundamental limiting belief, whether it's not enough or lack of trust, we have that theme, is always going to be the same,
totally.
and you're always going to be readjusting it. And I think so many people get unhappy when it comes up again, because then they feel like, oh my god, here I am, I'm not making progress, I've done it. And I go, I 9 out of 10 times I go, oh, look, it's coming up. There's more inviting, there's more soul to come in, there's more goodness than I want to come in. It's just a signal that you believe you're separate from the divine.
Yeah. There's so much in what you just said. You guys, I always say blue pen, white paper. This is the platform right here. Take tons of notes. So I love it. So we'll go to those subtle. I want to recap just a little bit. Those subtle yet powerful steps. It seems small, but inside, when we're asking our soul and we're opening up, those little things like not take it personal or just detach emotionally, these little few words that hold great power seem
Right.
small, but you feel like you're saying that major shift inside of your body, and it might be that perfect pivot you need in that moment. Now I also love how you got on the subject of being hard on yourself,
Yeah.
because how many of us suffer from being hard on ourselves, right? You're like, oh, I thought I healed that, or I just went through that, and here it comes again, darn it. And then we kind of beat ourselves up. But I
Well, we think
like,
it's gonna be motivating, and it's not, right? We
yeah,
think, especially those that have warrior energy, we think, okay, the way to motivate ourselves is to like do this weird anti-pep talk, which is like, what are you doing? You've done this before. How could you do it? Let's kick the butt out of it. Yeah, no. We have to practice love therapy. I
mm,
always imagine my cat, my poor cat that went to the giant cat box in the sky, Mushu, because she would at 1 o'clock in the morning scratch the wall. And I would pick her up and I would hold her and I would love her until her whole body went like this and she went to sleep.
mm,
And that's what we need to do to those parts of us that are in this judgmental pattern. We have to practice love therapy. We can't eradicate it, we can't make war with it. We actually have to love it. And that will lead to a happier life, a happier choice. And that will lead to our go to consciousness in those upper vibrations of neutrality and courage and love and peace and all of those goodness.
the joy and the happiness. Yeah. So I love that. It's not fighting or resisting the fear or the pains, that we're currently having, embracing it, sitting with it, and love therapy. I can see like just loving it out of your body. Just
Right.
be with it. It's normal. You're part human. Like just be with it. Let it speak to
Ev-
you and blast it out. Mm.
yeah, everything wants to be loved, right? And even that part of you that's in disagreement, it just wants to be heard. It just wants to be loved. And when you acknowledge it and go, okay, I heard you, I love you, you know,
Yeah.
there's this deep now we have a dog. So before she like goes into her sleep, she does this big huge and I know when she does that, it's not sleep's on the way. Like I know that she's now totally relaxed. And that's what it does when you kind of love yourself, when you acknowledge it. There's a sigh because that part has been heard. And then you can really put yourself in that consciousness of talking to your soul and take action from wholeness and completeness rather than separateness.
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, think about it, you guys. As you're talking, Jennifer, I'm going through my own life and like just yesing with you because I have 4 little kids, and think about everybody who has kids right now or has grown up and you had parents. Every time you threw a tantrum or in
Right.
one of your spouts, what did you want? Right? I mean, you just wanted a hug. You wanted that love and attention. From my 2-year old to my 8-year old, whatever kind of mood they're in. If I just say "Mama's here" and I bear hug them, they're solid. It's just
They're
like,
solid.
feel that, right? Think about relationships. I thought about early in my marriage having a tantrum with my husband, and like I'm like, I just want a hug. Really, that's what the body is calling for. So why don't we hug ourselves?
Right.
Ooh, this
Yeah.
is good. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Um, can you share with us, because I know you've worked with so many people now, do you have a specific client testimonial, like a story that's coming to your mind of someone you've helped go from this sort of despair, just low vibrational place into their happiness and where they want to be?
Yeah, I think the recent example was I was talking to a prospective client who then became a client. And we were talking about, how the difference between her little kid and her soul. And we really discussed about how that little kid was really running the show a lot, right? Keeping her really hidden, keeping her silent, keeping her in the not enough. And we set up this interaction between her soul, her adult self too, and the little girl, and really spending some time each day loving that little girl. And she texted me and she's like, I am so high. She's like, I feel so great. She's like, there was a lot of tears at first, and I had to really hug her and love her, but I am so high now.
Yeah.
And what's really great is one of her soul languages is called nurturer, right? And so she wasn't really nurturing herself. And she was over servicing the entire world.
Yeah.
And so when we really connected with that part of her soul and really made that connection and allowed her to have a structure to profoundly nurture herself. And I'm not talking about like having tea and taking a bath. Those are things you want to do, right? But there's an internal thing that we don't do that counts much more than those external things.
Yeah.
Um, there was a huge release and now the soul, the adult also is running the show versus that scared little kid.
Yeah. As this is right on, you guys. I know you're feeling it as much as I do. We hear as a therapist, we hear this all the time: the inner child work. And if we all have this beautiful little inner child
Right.
within us. And so I love how we hear a lot of the self-love tips, which are usually the lavender bath, the tea, the walk in the park, massage, different things. But the inner self-love work, I love that verbiage. Could you give us like because we're connecting to the inner. Could you tell our audience, everyone watching right now, how could they love what's internal work look like an example of that?
Yeah. So you could imagine for a moment that you're knee to knee, eye to eye with your most wounded part of that little child. And then you just ask that part of you, what does it need? What does it require each day? And then each day you just sit with that part of you and offer that. So you could just love on it or offer it peace or tell that little part of you that it's safe.
Yeah.
Right? And you want to keep doing that until you feel the shift internally, until you notice that your thoughts on most day are moving towards more safety, more love, that the actions you're taking are based on safety and love versus pain and programming. Spam call.
Yeah. That's okay. Um, so an example of that, I remember doing just my own healing work and guiding so many of my clients. Would it be, Jennifer, having them would all close our eyes and see our younger self? Like, would you pick an age zero between
Yeah,
eight?
the most wounded part. And when you say that, something will pop. So I'm visual. So I always say, knee to knee, eye to eye, right? Like you're looking in a mirror.
Yeah.
And you want to keep doing that until there's no more wounded parts, which will be always. There's always some part that's wounded. I mean, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
It's just separation. The problem is that we build on those wounded parts. So if we're not kind of clearing the fundamental experience, we're just kind of adding weight to that wound and then
Yeah.
creating based on that wound, based on that pain and suffering versus based on knowing that we're whole and complete.
Yeah. So, for example, if I'm feeling not good enough, or we're feeling unworthy, or whatever it is, going to that little girl or little boy, seeing them visualizing, saying, "You are enough. You are love." You're letting your soul speak onto your inner child, and just feeling it,
Yeah.
sitting with that. Okay, that's
Yeah, and
powerful.
when you're in your everyday life and you notice that's coming up, you can just pause and go, if I knew what I was enough, what would I be? What would I do? What would I say? What would choice would I make here?
Mm.
And that becomes a whole new ball game.
Oh yeah, asking those questions definitely. Are you guys writing this down? I hope you guys are writing this down. I
Well,
always
it's
like to
really
show
funny
my
because
paper.
as we're having this conversation, I'm noticing, oh, there's a little sneaky not enough happening in my life where my calendar is booked solid, which is great. But like boom, 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 boom. I have a dog I have to eat,
Right.
and I thought, oh, look, sneaky, not enough. Okay, we're going to rearrange that right today. Right. And just noticing that, right. Putting, this is how it goes. That's a very sneaky, very subtle, right.
Yeah.
And yet I'm still perpetuating not enough, not enough, not enough, which puts my body in stretch, right? So it's just, noticing and being really in the observer, but being in that loving observer seat so you can go, "Oh, we can rearrange this. You're not broken, no one's broken." And to stop looking at yourselves as though you're broken.
I love the sweet observer seat because sometimes just noticing you've got all the little tings and pings and everything coming through. You've got all the meals in your day and your man, and you've got all
Right.
these duties outside of your work and passion. We get it, you guys. The house is dirty, all that stuff. And then we can reflect on it when we notice all that. We could be hard on ourselves and like, oh, let's get out. How are we gonna get this done? And we go into that kind of uh, action mode. But I
Right.
like how you're saying sweet observing. Just observe, notice what's going on. And from that intention, and you'll come out with a very creative solutions to it and
Right.
calming and not fight or flight. It's just
Right.
slight
The
tweak.
human is never going to come up with a creative solution. It's
Mm,
just not, right?
right, we're gonna
The
do it.
right, the divinity has that creative, your own divinity has that creative solution. And there's so often where if you just pause and you just listen with the simple question of what do I need to know today, you're going to get so much more information than if you try to do your life via your mind. Right?
Yeah.
We need the mind to follow the heart, right? One of the things that cracks me up when a client goes, "Well, I know it in my mind, but I need my heart to know it." And I go, "No, no, no. You know it in your heart. You need to get the mind on board." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, right."
Mm,
Like that's the difference, it's that embodiment of knowing that it's your right to be happy. It's your right to create happiness.
yeah.
That pain and suffering doesn't have to be your existence every day. You're not going to eradicate pain and suffering from your world. So don't try, right? The point is to not suffer. It's to experience the pain and let it go, because if you don't, then that creates suffering.
Yes, that's right. It is, you guys. We live in a world of contrast and duality and yin and yang and all this stuff for purpose. I think if we were happy 100% of the time, Jennifer, like we would be so bored.
Well, and we'd be like, there would be no choice, right? So we would be
Yeah.
these robots that go, it'd be Stepford, like, and it wouldn't. You can't have a good song with just high notes or just low notes. It's a crappy song. You need the
Yeah.
whole bandwidth to really experience the juice of everything and really, have that song that you want to hear again and again and again. So, I think people are fooling themselves if they just want to be Care Bear and love and blah blah blah. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. And you don't have to be also the opera, the Debbie Downer either, right?
Mm-mm,
So
mm-mm.
it's really about creating this really wonderful sense of balance.
Yeah, being able to face those times of contrast and stress and anger and all those things and just kind of sit with it, embrace it, and do what you need in that moment to pivot out of it. Get what you need and go on from it because they serve us, right? Would you say like
Well, I've learned some great things in that pain and struggle, and I've learned some amazing things in joy and
yeah.
bliss. And, I've also learned that, you know, I don't need to judge either one, and then I need to feel it all, or everything is kind of gray.
This is so beautiful. I'm loving this. You guys, I'm taking lots of notes. Okay, Jennifer, what would you tell, speaking to that soul right now, that person that is listening to you, she or he wants to embody what we're speaking about so bad, but they have this loud, sabotaging Debbie Downer that is just, you can't do it, you can't be happy, life's a struggle, life sucks, whatever. We all have these Debbie Downers, but it's a big one, and they want to just hack it down a bit. Speak into that person.
I want you just to know that you're whole and complete and thank that part of you. And then let's just play a game. Let's not make it all so serious. Let's just play a game. And if you could be happy, if happiness was an option for you, if it was your destiny, if it was your right, what would you be? What would you do? What would you say? What would you offer the world right here, right now? And being in the present, if you want to live your life based on past experiences, you're going to create more of those experiences. So if you could just for a moment be in this uh, amazing energy of discovery and just have your mind start to chase the happiness, because your mind's been chasing the pain and suffering. So now it gets to chase the happiness. And just notice how your mind wants a job, and it will chase the happiness if you let it.
That's beautiful.
Thank
That's
you.
that's super empowering. Looks like we both have a phone call.
Spam call.
Spam call.
I get like 100 million spam calls a day.
Oh my goodness. Love the contrast. Okay, Jennifer, one happy hack before we get into that lovely gift that you're giving everyone today. You guys don't want to miss that. One happy hack is what I'm calling it, that whenever you're feeling just, I don't know, you get out of alignment, you feel down for a moment for whatever, what is one of your go-to happy hacks that just sends you right back into that space?
Yeah, I put on like my happiest song. So like I put on that song no matter what changes and shifts my perspective, my perspective.
Yeah.
Music is so good for doing that. So,
Mm.
one of the songs I love is Living Life Like a Renegade. I always put that on. Or I put The Who's Love Reign Over Me, because how can you be sad when you're screaming love reign over me? And then, I allow that to shift, that to shift my energy. I also do something totally different. Like I don't try to, get anything done. I don't try to push my way through something. And taking the dog for a walk is really good about that, because how can you be sad when she looks at you like you are like the ultimate oneness of everything? And so those are a couple things that you get to do, but you also have to change them up. right? You can't go, okay, I'm depressed and keep doing the same thing because you're going to get used to that. So just change up your daily practice.
Ooh, no expert has said that yet. Change it up. But that is so important because anything can kind of lose its juice. I think of it like the chewing gum. And
Yep.
that's our point. So like, would you say like create a list, like a long list of things that we can kind
Well,
of pick from?
that's why I created the free gift, right? Because a spiritual practice has to have parts, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm a rebel, I'm a renegade, I'm highly intuitive, I'm highly creative, I get bored easily. So sacred practice has a couple parts that you need to kind of include, but you need to keep rotating those things so you don't outsmart yourself. So
Yeah.
that's why my gift is about creating a sacred practice that you can integrate and you can change and it can evolve as you evolve. So I have a list of things that I love to do. I have a list of things of my sacred practice. I also collect ideas from people.
Mm.
I think a lot of people use some sort of card deck to do their sacred practice, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you want to spend some time listening rather than doing all of that. Or sometimes I just go, I don't know. I'm going to ask a question and I'm just going to turn on the TV and see what happens. And then lo and behold, there's the divine talking to me through the TV. Right. And so it's really about starting to notice that there's divinity in everything and being aware of it. So you want to really work within who you are, right? As warrior energy. I don't really love to meditate. My body doesn't like it. So I will kind of do that dog walk and meditation, right?
Yeah.
And so you need to really work within who you are and not trying to judge yourself or push yourself. You
Mm.
want to challenge, but you don't want to berate yourself during any sacred practice.
That was good.
Thank you.
Okay, can you dive a little bit more into the free gift is linked below, but can you just give us a title, maybe a little short description so they know what they're grabbing?
Yeah, it's a sacred practice. It's how to create a spiritual practice that works for you. There's four sections of a sacred practice that you need that will actually create a really deep sacred practice. It doesn't have to take hours. And it goes through with you to understand what you need in your sacred practice and then how to change it as you evolve.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Perfect. Grab it, you guys. Get it now. Get it now. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for your time, your wisdom, nuggets of gold. This is amazing energy you're giving and sharing with us. So I thank you so much for your time and
Thank
wisdom.
you. It's been an honor and a pleasure. So thanks for creating happiness in the world.
Thank you. And thank you guys. Hope you never are the same after this episode. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.